Tonight, we take you behind the scenes as you meet the Women of Outa. We have 3 or 4, depending on Ngano Mashashane's connectivity tonight, of Outa's sterling employees. We'll be finding out who they are, what they do on your behalf at this organization called Outa. I'll also introduce you to the people who put the show together and in the YouTube and Facebook section moderating for you tonight. I'm Tom London. Get ready for 60 minutes of the Outa Hour. Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The Outa Hour, where your voice matters. Okay, are you ready? I mean, it's been a kind of long weekend in South Africa. Women's Day was yesterday. First question for you as you join the show tonight and watch us live. What did you do yesterday? Did you have any thoughts about Women's Day? Did you celebrate in any way? Did you appear on television like Asavela Kakaza did, representing brand Outa and women in the legal profession? We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But I'm quite excited to show you the people that I know when I come into the office and meet all the good people at this organization called Outa and have so much fun engaging with the women who work here that we thought we need to introduce you to a few. So who works behind the scenes? What do they do? How does their work contribute to the eradication of maladministration and corruption in South Africa? You'll find out who the team are in just a moment. But talking about teams, let's see if we've got our producer of the show online. Devaney Davids, are you there? Call in Devaney Davids. Paging Devaney Davids. We're having some connectivity issues on the internet tonight. All right, let's try Masego Motswaneng, who I know was there a second ago, but I think she might have left. Masego Motswaneng. Paging Masego Motswaneng. No, she's busy. I tell you where she's busy. She's busy in the Facebook and YouTube moderating the comments tonight. Samantha van Ispen is off, so Masego is behind the handle Outa in your Facebook and YouTube comments. We'll get to your hellos in just a moment and say how's it to you and find out how you're doing and see who got online first. Normally Claire Feldman is the first up. We like to call Claire out. Whoever gets there first is our chief whip of the night. We'll see if Claire is in a moment. So let's say hello to each other. It's become tradition on the show, and when we've got time, we do that. We say hello and we greet each other from wherever we're, from and watching from. So wherever you are, let us know. Let us know who you represent in which area of the country or where you are in the world, and say how's it to Masego and to each other. There's some great engagement that goes on in the comment section on the Outa Hour. Always nice to see. We'll get to those comments in just a moment. In fact, shall we do it? Let's see. There's Masego, and that's why she left, because she was busy saying hello to you. So Masego Motswaneng is on board. She says, good evening, Outarians. Claire Feldman is indeed our chief whip again tonight. You got to beat Claire Feldman. If you want to be the chief whip, you've got to get your comments on first. Claire Feldman says, evening, team Outa. We've got Madeline Gutsch on board saying, hi all, great night, great fight. Hello, Madeline, good to have you with us. And Claire Feldman says, looking forward to tonight's discussion. Well, it's become, and before anyone goes, hold on, why aren't you discussing the fuel price? Hold on a second. Let me just pull the handbrake on that kind of discussion, because for 3 years, this is the third year that when it comes to Women's Month, we profile the women at Outa and we introduce you to the ladies who work at this brand. And so it has become tradition on the show. We'll get to the hard issues in a show or two, but it has become, over the years, tradition to show you, to showcase, to introduce you to, and you can engage with the women who represent this brand. And we'll be doing that tonight, unashamedly so. Christo Fenter says, I'm here. Good evening. Hello. Good to have you with us, Christo. Thanks for joining us. Rudy Heineke, who has appeared on the show many times before. Nobody knows more about the Guptas and what they got up to in South Africa than Rudy Heineke. He is like the encyclopedia of corruption in this country, and he's in the comment section. So do join him. I'm sure you can have some fascinating conversations with him in the comment section down below this video. Anne-Law Bramley says, good evening, everybody. Hello, Anne-Law. Good to have you with us. And then Stella Turosvanikak. Good to see you, Stella. Thank you for joining us this evening. Nice to see your name on screen. Fikile Dada, Fix is on board. Hello, Fikile. Nice to see you. Simone Ghost says, hello all. Hello, Simone. And while I'm saying hello to you, just a reminder to like and share this program, please, so we can get as many likes and shares as we can tonight. Laura Bass says, hello, Outa team and members. Jeff P. Scott says, good evening, everybody. Nice to see Jeff there. Lynn Smith says, good evening, everyone. Nice to see everybody. Claire Feldman says, hopefully Eskom's load shedding warning isn't playing havoc with the comms. Well, I saw there was a warning. I'm not sure if it has kicked in yet. I haven't seen it my side. But you may be affected by Eskom load shedding this evening. If you are, my commiserations. Right, there's our show's producer, Devaney Davids. Good evening. Looking forward to a great show. Susan Bierkus says, good evening, Benoni. This should be an advert. Most of the people who are joining us on the show tonight via Zoom probably not old enough to remember an advert that says, I had my first Campari in Benoni. And I always think of that. So I hope you're having a Campari tonight, Susan. And by the way, do you know what? And here's a question. I'll throw another question at you. Anyone can answer. What does Benoni mean? Anybody know? What does Benoni mean? I know. Let's see if you do. Diane LaRue says, good evening to the Outa team and viewers. Gail Hutchins says, good evening, Outa team and attendees from a beautiful Cape Town. Nice to have the Cape represented by you this evening, Gail. Thank you for joining us. Alex Elshope says, good evening, Outa team. Michelle Toluta, Doc, says, hi, Outa and team. Hello, Michelle. And we'll see who else joins us as we go along. Well, firstly, thank you. Thank you for putting aside some time on a Wednesday night. And if you're watching this post live, thank you for pressing the play button on the video. My first question is just a general one. What did you do yesterday? And only because I'm curious. Only because I'm a curious George. I want to know what happens in your life, you see. So what did you do yesterday? Did you just chill in bed and take the day off and enjoy 24 hours of no work and no responsibility? Or did you get together with friends or family? My niece, I was going out yesterday. I said, where are you going? She says, we're going to have a braai at my boyfriend's parents' house and we're celebrating Women's Day together. I thought that was quite cute. So did you? What did you do? We'll get to those comments in just a moment. I see Di Gibson has joined us and Cornelia van Niekerk has joined us. I see Caroline Ungersbach has joined us from Victoria West. Never been there. What's it like? Good place to live? Shima Mashilo says, good evening, Outarians. And more will join us. Just pop your hellos in there and we'll put as many of them up on screen as possible. First question, what did you do yesterday? Now, let's meet some of these ladies behind Brand Outa, shall we? These are the ladies I get to meet when I walk into the office, but you don't, you see, the supporters of Outa and contributors to this brand. You don't get to meet all the great people I do. You don't get to walk around the office and see the top class, 8+ human beings that power this brand called Outa. It's not a logo that powers it. It's people. Tonight, we introduce some of those people to you. She's on screen now. Why not put her on? She's on my Zoom screen, so let me put it on your screen. Asavela Kakaza. We'll go with you first, Asavela. How's it?
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. I am looking forward to the show today.
So am I, and you're always so bubbly and happy when you join us. Are you always bubbly and happy, or do you? I mean, you're a legal project manager. You're not supposed to have a sense of humor and be bubbly like this. You're supposed, the impression is you're supposed to be serious, a bulldog. But you are one of the nicest people I've ever met. Are you always nice? These are not standard questions tonight. You see, I mean, these are deep ones. Are you always nice? We want to know.
Thank you, Tom. Well, Tom, I guess, as people, you have a choice. I mean, being happy is a choice. So you have a choice. And especially when you're working for an organization such as Outa, where we actually give positivity to people. I mean, the work that we do enables us to do that. We are fighting for change and stuff like that. So there's no time to be doom and gloomy, whatever, I mean, yeah. So, and also I'm talking to you, Tom, so you're very...
Oh, you're going to, and I was going to, oh man, I wondered whether to even mention this, and I wasn't going to. On the way to the show tonight, I was sitting in the back of an Uber, and we stopped at the Robot, and the car next to us had some people in it. There was a lady driving, and she looked at me and said, roll down. She went like this, put down your window. And I was trying to figure out if I knew her or not. I mean, one of those moments where you're going, do I know this person? Don't recognize their face, but it happens. People recognize me and I don't recognize them. So I rolled down the window. It was a proper old-fashioned window roll that I had to do. I couldn't wind it. I rolled it down, and then she rolled down her window, and I said, hello. And she said, that's fine. I just wanted to look at you. And then she rolled her window up, and I felt 21 again. So your sweetness is going to have to compete tonight with the lady at the robot who made me feel like $1 million, whoever she is. Thank you. I owe her. But yeah, that was smooth.
Shall the rest of us just leave, Tom, and you and Isabella can have a nice chat?
No, the more the merrier, Ilse Sazvedel. It's good to have you on board tonight. And I see you've got your lighting and the hair. Everyone's got good hair tonight. I also washed and brushed my hair before I came through.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, it's not all for you, Tom. I'm sorry to say it's all for the viewers' benefit.
Okay, well, yeah.
And I heard about the lipstick economy. Apparently, when we are getting poorer, we are using more red lipstick. So if you go by the red lipstick tonight on the show, then I guess we will have to talk about a raise, Mr. Duvenage.
Yeah, I've heard about that before. I'm not sure the correct term. I think it's the lipstick index or something. The theory is that when times get tough and women can't spend as much on beauty products as they normally do, they concentrate on lipstick. So when lipstick sales go up, you know that consumer spending is tight. It's an interesting concept, that. Let's see who else has got red lipstick on. But before we go, let me just tell you that Ilse Sazvedel is a social media specialist. And when you engage with her on Twitter specifically, it's Ilse Sazvedel representing brand Outa. And she gets into some scraps on Twitter. Sometimes I'm quite... Well, I won't say...
Not me.
Oh, really? But if there is anyone who defends civil activism and brands like Outa, Ilse does it with force and aplomb. Always good to see. And nice to have you on board tonight, Ilse. Thank you for joining us. Always a treat. Thank you. And then let's talk to the big boss when it comes to HR. Carrie de Jonge joins us tonight. She's the HR executive manager and the ethics officer. I always wondered what an ethics officer is, so I'll ask her in just a moment. But so how's it, Carrie? Good to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks to you, Tom, and to my esteemed panel and to everybody watching tonight. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so happy to be taking part in this special Women's Day edition for Outa Hour. I do have some thoughts on the lipstick index, but
share them. No, come on, share them, because you've got red lipstick on tonight.
All I was hearing when you guys were discussing it is maybe now is a good time to invest in Coty and Estee Lauder and the likes. But okay.
You might be showing your age by mentioning brands like Coty and Estee Lauder.
You need to have a look at what they're doing in the markets, Tom. They're improving at the moment. Well, at least the last time I looked. So there's that.
Look, I can't claim to know much about lipstick, so I shall defer and just accept that you know a whole lot more than I do. Before we get into the discussion, what is an ethics officer?
How long do you have?
Well, you've got 60 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No pressure.
So ethics is at the fundamental intrinsic root of any change we would like to see in South Africa at the moment. If all of your decisions are based on principles and good moral judgment, there is no way but up. And
all right.
Ethics officers in organizations help to facilitate that.
Yeah, I think every organization should have an ethics officer. I think some of the biggest organizations in South Africa desperately need an ethics officer, private and government.
And government.
Yeah, do government organizations have ethics officers? Does anyone know?
They should. They have ethics committees.
But no officer.
But do they listen to them? That's the point, Kerry.
As with I think a lot of sort of committees that are mandated, I think that those professionals find it very difficult to kind of get in there, to get the ear of the people making the decisions. But for any of you that are listening tonight, I would encourage you, please don't give up. Persistence is key. Tenacity is one of our values.
Now,
please keep at it.
Making up the foursome this evening is Nangano Mashashane, an information specialist at Outa. Let's say hello to Nangano. How's it? We were having audio problems with Nangano a little earlier on. It looks like we may be experiencing the same problem. So let's just try one more time. And Nangano, are you there?
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Oh, now I can hear you. All right, talk nice and loud so that we can pick you up if you don't mind.
Tom?
I'm good, thank you. I can't see you yet.
Okay.
Just get a bit closer to that device so that you're nice and loud for us, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, and say something like testing 1, 2, 3, 4 or something so that I can see you. Good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're those issues I was telling you about, and I'm wondering whether our whole link hasn't just frozen because I see Kerry De Jonge has frozen as well.
Testing 1, 2, Tom.
All right, that's what I needed, a testing 1, 2. Just do it again so that we can see if we can pick you up. I suspect Eskom load shedding has kicked in, and we are busy losing links all over the place. I'm just looking. I can't see anybody at the moment.
We are here. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, Tom.
All right, there we go. All right.
Yeah, we can see you.
All right, it looked like there was a temporary glitch there. Let's see if Ndongano Mashashane appears on the screen. How's it, Ndongano?
You're on mute?
No. Unmute. Let's see. Could be that. I got a suspicion that Eskom load shedding just kicked in around the country and the networks had a bit of a problem kicking over. All right, but let's get to the comments quickly.
Yeah, my network's...
Oh, there you are. Okay, you're with us. Thank you. Nangano, finally, you're with us, and you're an information specialist at Outa. I'm asking all the basic questions as we start tonight. What's an information specialist for those of us that have no idea?
Okay, basically, information specialist is a researcher.
Got it. So you spend a lot of time researching things. We'll ask you what that job entails. In just a moment, we'll get into the discussion. Okay. Right, back to you as we dip into the comment section. I did ask you what you were doing yesterday. Di Gibson says, I studied yesterday, the whole day. Oh, wow. Well, hopefully it's something you're enjoying studying, Di, and it's fulfilling you. Claire Feldman says she stayed at home with COVID. COVID, isn't that so 2020, Claire? I mean, 2022, that's so 2020. COVID? It's like a sneeze nowadays, isn't it? I'm making light of it. I hope you feel better, Claire. Let's see who else we got. Rachel Fisher is no stranger to the show, says inspired by our Outa ladies and supporters. Christine Finnis is on board. Madeline Gutsch is in the bush to recharge my batteries. No better place to be to recharge. Hey, Madeline. And Madeline Gutsch says she Googled Benoni, and you're right, Madeline. Benoni means son of sorrow. And it's actually a Hebrew word, Ben-Oni, a son of sorrow. So now you know, when you drive into Benoni, what you're supposed to feel. You know, sorrow. I can say that because I'm a Springs boy and we all make fun of each other on the East Rand. So you'll just have to take it if you live in Benoni tonight, and you can return the favor with some Springs jokes. Okay, let's see, what else have we got here? There's a lot of conversation going on here. Tallulah Moon says, hello, Tom. How's it, Tallulah? Good to have you with us. And then Claire Feldman says, Ilse is an accomplished author too. That's true. And Di Gibson says she's studying for the aspirant public prosecutor's exam. So far, so good. Well, all the best from us, Di. We need great public prosecutors in South Africa. That's nice to hear. Susan Bierker says, oh dear, not good. No sorrow here. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you live in a place that's named after the son of sorrow. Hey? Christine Finnis is noticing all the red lipstick. I don't think that was planned. And... I'm just rolling through lots of comments here. Di says you're on mute, our favorite COVID sane. As we transitioned to doing meetings over Zoom, I think is probably the most overused phrase in the world right now. You are on mute. Jeff P. Scott says the presidency should have an institutionalized ethics officer as a right-hand assistant. What do you think of that, Kerry? You agree?
Absolutely and completely agree. I see absolutely no reason. besides, let's leave out cadre deployment. Let's leave out, overinflating, staff compliments in the public sector where that applies. But I see no reason why any person in a position of power and authority should not be taking advice from somebody who is a specialist in that field.
Leon Moore wants to know, does government know what an ethics committee is? If so, there should be a brand new government in the making. There's a comment coming from there. Loving the comments, and always love your comments. So write as much as you want in the comment section. I try and put as much as I can on the screen. Somebody's chuckling at me. I've got no idea why. Wandise Boyd says, Dumelang, Wandise. Thank you for joining us. And Gail Hutchins is having a good laugh at Son of Sorrow. Anyway, okay, we're having a bit of fun. I mean, we're always talking about such serious topics on the show. It's quite refreshing to get into it with a bit of a laugh and a chuckle. So thank you for joining us. Like and share this program. Let's ask Ilse Salzwiedel, social media expert at Outa, why she joined this organization. That's one of my first questions tonight. Why did you join Brand Outa? Let's start with Ilse. Ilse?
I actually I signed up as a donor before I joined the organization. I'm an activist at heart. I studied political science at the University of Stellenbosch. And when the first mail came around that Outa needs donations I think it was the end of 2015, I immediately signed up. And through another author that Julius approached to come and do some writing for Outa, she didn't see herself in the role at Outa, and she told them about me. I met them, I joined them, and here I am still after 6 years now. And I was supposedly freelance back then, would just help with the odd press release. Now it's press releases when Louise Flanagan can't do it, and it's social media, and it's podcasts, and the book on Parliament's failure. And I love every minute of it because it gives you energy to keep on fighting.
I was about to ask you, what's kept you at Outa for 6 years or so?
It's really, it sounds like a cliche, but it's the team. It's Wayne's leadership. And it's the fact that you're making a tangible difference to South Africa. Even though you get fatigued at the bad news that you have to work with every day, the corruption, it feels like 2 steps ahead and 3 kilometers backwards. But then there's a breakthrough, there's an arrest, there's a asset forfeiture in the making, or there's just a small movement in the right direction in government, and it's all worth it again. But it's really a phenomenal team to work with.
Yeah, it's easy to forget the accomplishments and the successes. I mean, I keep reminding myself on almost a daily basis that the Guptas are actually in jail. They're not living in their fancy apartment, driving around in their fancy cars, doing whatever they do. They're sitting in jail right now and have been since they were arrested, which is good news. And we should remind ourselves of that. Ndangano.
And the thing is, one gets fatigued, but if you feed into the fatigue the whole time with, sorry guys, I've got dogs. If you feed into the fatigue with lots of negative comments the whole time on social media, it becomes a very negative echo chamber. So that is why I would also urge everybody listening tonight is just check yourself on social media, that you don't surround yourself with all the negative people saying only bad things about South Africa, because there are good things happening. And we need to start highlighting that, not only for the country's benefit, but for our own mental benefit as well.
You remind me of my days as a talk radio show host at the station down the road here. And you get talk radio listeners and news consumers, and it's easy to become a news consumer. Most of us are consumers of news, but it can become a bit of a trap. And all of a sudden you're in this half-hour or 1 hour cycle, getting the latest news and looking for the latest breaking news and getting involved in all these discussions that we have, hard discussions on a daily basis, an hourly basis. Very often people I met and friends of mine would say to me, Tom, I'm getting so depressed at all the news in South Africa and the bad news. What do I do? And I'd often give them advice that wasn't very good to give as a talk show host, but I'd say, stop listening to the radio so much and stop reading the newspapers as much as you slow it down a little bit, because it's very, very easy to become negative when what you're doing all the time is consuming news content, and there's no light when it comes to news. And it was confirmed to me, I must say, last week. I only had the bravery to say this publicly tonight because Mandy Wiener was on last night, and she herself was saying that the constant work that she does around hard issues and stories actually makes you depressed. And that's why she's doing these speeches and talks around the country to say, hey, even though I'm in the business of delivering bad news, mostly there's a lot of good in life and in this country. I think we should all remember that. And so when we do shows like this that aren't full of train smashes and drama and trauma, it's just a nice pit stop for us, isn't it, as human beings, to say, hey, breathe. It's not all doom and gloom. Okay, I think Ndangano is not going to participate in the conversation. She's got a really bad network at the moment, so if we can't get hold of her, we'd like to thank her for giving it a good try. And let me ask Kerry de Jonge the same question I asked Ilse. Why did you join Outa, Kerry?
Well, Tom, I'd like to first just quickly comment on what you guys were discussing. And
Sure.
I think, it needs to be said that the reason propaganda works is because what we see, what we hear, and what we say can very, very quickly become what we think. And I'd just like to remind everybody that if you make a conscious effort, and I know that sometimes things can get very, very hard and it's difficult to do that, but if we make a conscious effort every day, every hour, every minute to look for the good, eventually that becomes what you see 90% of the time. So please try for your own benefit. But I think at the end of the day, sorry?
No, I was just going to chip in with one of my comments. I mean, I remember when I was studying economics, the very beginning of economics, that I learned that all markets are driven by sentiment, which is such an easy line to use and to say, but it's actually quite deep. If stock markets, we say bull and bear markets, etc., is really just they terms to describe confidence or pessimism, and that comes first. If we, and I think we've become quite a negative country, perhaps too negative. I don't want to say let's put our heads in the sand and pretend problems don't exist, but if all we do is become a depressed bunch of people, how are we ever going to lift ourselves out of the mess we're in? And I think it takes a bit of enthusiasm, not just force and smart. I think you need a bit of enthusiasm and energy to accomplish anything in life, including combating corruption. Anyway, I've got two questions for you. One's a trick one. Here's the first one. Why did you join? That's the easy one.
I think I joined for the same reason that we all did, a patriotic and determined desire to change our beautiful country for the better.
Okay.
Isn't that why
Makes
most
sense.
people join non-profit organizations or organizations that have reputations for effecting positive change?
Yeah.
Doesn't anybody want to be a part of that?
I do. Who's Robin Crossman?
Exactly.
Who's Robin Crossman?
That would be my father. Why is he making comments?
Because Robin Crossman says, Kerry, not only good looking, but full of brains. That's my girl. And I thought this is either a significant other or this is the father.
He's a little bit biased, and he was warned ahead of time. Dad, please, let's not make any embarrassing comments. However, luckily the shoulders are broad, so.
Well, that could be my comment of the evening, actually, and far from hiding away from it, let's get a crowd cheering for Kerry de Jonge. Come on, Kerry, give us a.
Oh dear.
There we go.
Don't be prompted by a father's pride.
Kerry de Jonge, Robin Crossman's daughter, ladies and gentlemen. There she is.
Yeah.
I bet your dad's got a big smile on his face right now. Eh? Okay, we'll get to comments in just a moment. Some lovely comments coming through. Asabella Kakaza, why did you join Outa?
Thank you, Tom. So I obviously share Kerry and also sentiments as well. I mean, I joined Outa because I was inspired by their activism. And for me, I didn't really know much about Outa until the Dudu Myeni case. I think there was heavy media coverage of that case. And that was the first time I found out about them. And I was like, who who are these people who, because, you know, we live in a country where we complain a lot and we do very little to contribute towards changing about what we're complaining about. I mean, corruption affects everybody. We complain about corruption every day, but we do very little to, you know, rectify or contribute towards changing that. So when I found out about this organization that's tackling corruption and maladministration head on, I was like, I better be a part of that, you know? So,
Nice.
and for me, during that Dudumeni case, a vacancy became available for a legal advisor position. And funny enough, on the day when the judgment came out on the Dudumeni project was actually the same day I interviewed. And I remember, because Kerry was actually interviewing me, Kerry and Stefani, and one of the questions that Kerry asked me was if I was an activist. I was like, what? Okay.
Hold on a second. Your audio cut as you said, do you want to? What was the question? Because we lost it there when Kerry asked you.
So, sorry. So Kerry asked me if I was an activist. Because
Okay.
she said, this activist organization, so you need to be an activist as well. And I was like, wow, because I had never been asked that question before. And it really had me thinking and just thinking that I really want to be a part of this. So, yeah.
And what has your experience been so far?
It's been amazing, Tom. It's been amazing. You know, I'm obviously in the accountability division under the incredible leadership of the People's Advocate, Stefani Pick. And, you know, you are constantly being exposed to things that will allow you to grow as a person as well as a professional as well. You know, I mean, I've lost count of the number of media interviews that I've had to do, and I never even thought that I had that capability to do something like that. And I won't even start speaking about the kind of work that we do. So it's been very fulfilling for me.
Speaking of media interviews, I saw you on television yesterday on Newsroom Africa doing an interview on the role of women and what needs to be done in the legal profession. And well done. I was so proud. I was running around telling everybody, I know her.
Well, thank you, Tom. And I mean, you are one of the people who literally sat me down and gave me media training. So you should be proud.
That's right.
But again,
yes. Myself and Cathay Yanana spent some time with some of the people at Outa doing some media training. I'm just so proud when I saw you on the screen. Just take us back to the Dudumeni trial. So that's when you came into the organization. Were you involved in that?
well, at the time, I mean, I was not involved when it was happening. I was watching it on TV because it was constantly on TV. But I was just fascinated by an NGO taking on a chairperson of a board and having them declared a delinquent director because of their failure to do their job and all the corruption and maladministration that happened as a result of them occupying that position. So very inspired because I think that was the time when I started becoming more and more frustrated about the corruption that was happening in the country, and it was always in the news. So hearing that Outa was doing this, I was like, oh, this is great, you know. And then judgment came and Dudu was declared a delegate director for life, and I was like, wow, well done to Outa. And yeah, I was very inspired by that.
Now, I know that you come, I mean, we've had lots of chats and I know where you come from and your background and your legal training. I mean, as you were chatting a little while back, you were talking about the word activist, and how has that changed for you over the years and over the time you've worked at Outa, coming from a space where, and I probably could say the same, that for most of my life I never considered myself an activist, and then got in contact with this brand and started working with it, and I would call myself an activist. So I understand my own evolution, but what's yours?
Tom, it does change you. Like, it does change your mentality because, I mean, I find myself now, even I'd be sitting with my friends and we'd be just chatting. One of them would be working either at an SOE and I'll just hear something and I'm thinking, but that's a waste of taxpayers' money. It's like, why is that happening? But that would be, and previously would be having those conversations and I wouldn't think of anything else apart from, okay, this is just happening in their workspaces. So it change how you perceive life and how you live life on a day-to-day. You find yourself like doing things and being so conscious of the world around you and things that happen, even on social media as well. You see how people interact, and you have opinions. Like, it forces you to have an opinion on the things that are happening around you. So it's a great shift from just being a legal mind where you just know that,
Sure.
okay, what is the law, what is the conclusion, and that's it. It also forces you to think outside the box a little, because there's always ways to solve issues, and sometimes those ways are not necessarily legal ways.
Well, let me
Not legal processes, not illegal. But
Got it. Got it. Right. As you watch the show tonight, let me ask you the same question. Do you consider yourself an activist wherever you may be in South Africa or around the world as you watch the show? How would you describe yourself in terms of activism? Do you think you're an activist as you watch the Outa Hour? Do you consider yourself an activist? Have you become more active over the years? I want to know from you. I want to see what you have to say in the comments section. Moderated by Masego Motsoneng tonight. Say hello to her if you've just joined. Let's get to some of those comments I'm talking about. Gail Hutchins says the people in power should not listen to anything about ethics. It's not a word in their dictionary. How unfortunate that statement is, because it seems to be so true for so many officials and people in power in South Africa. Peter Webb says, good evening to everybody. Ethics is not in government's vocabulary. Right. I think we're all going to agree with each other on that. Christine Finnis says, I agree with Ilse, never give up. I like that as well. I don't believe in giving up at all. Right, what else have we got here? Madeline Gutsch says, you're so right, Ilse. All the reasons you mentioned is also why we support them too. Leon Moore, I like this comment. Leon, thank you. Leon says, it's like climbing Dune 7. And I've never been to Namibia, but I think you're talking about Dune 7 in Namibia, if I'm not mistaken. 1 step forward, 4 steps back, and the top is so far ahead. Have you climbed Dune 7, Leon? Let us know. Christine Finnis says, definitely good things happening in South Africa. The couch money dropped from 60 million to 10 million. I saw reports of that on Twitter today. I also saw a charge sheet for, I don't know if anyone on the panel tonight saw a charge sheet doing the rounds on Twitter for the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, all these charges. And a lot of consternation going on. But it appears as if somebody went into a police station at KZN and tried to make a citizen's arrest or get some kind of citizen charge going, but we're still waiting to see what that is about. It doesn't look like it's an official charge by the police or MPA or anything like that. But just
Tom,
before,
if
yes.
I may interrupt you,
please go
that's
ahead.
one of the big dangers of social media is all the fake news. And that is one of our daily battles from the social media team. I'm just one part of the social media team, but it's the fake news doing the rounds that's really damaging a lot of South Africa's potential, because people jump on something like that, and they react to it as if it's gospel. It takes ages to then change the narrative,
unwind
again,
that,
and to say, here are the facts, please stick to the facts. And if I have one wish for social media all over the world, it is that fake news will get punished, because that's the only way we can actually concentrate on the real issues.
Yeah, I've commented
and
this.
Tonight we are here to talk about serious issues.
Yeah.
We've got lots and lots of serious stuff that we as a female panel can contribute. So we should talk about the role women can play in activism, the role of women in the country, the sad state of affairs for women in the country, seeing that it's Women's Month.
Why don't we start there? And before I ask you that question or ask you to expand on it, Ilse, Brian Blythe has put a comment on screen to say, Ilse, I'm reading Permitted Plunder and it has opened my eyes. It's worth reading, well written, well done. And I guess that's...
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
That's one of the contributions you've made to combating maladministration and corruption in South Africa. But take us through that thought that you expressed now.
Just a aside to Brian and everybody, thanks for your comment, Brian. Everybody who hasn't read it yet, it's really a dummy's guide to state capture. I've written it for ordinary people because I consider myself an ordinary person. It's state capture uncovered in the way that my colleagues, esteemed colleagues like Rudy and everybody else investigating this explained it to us. So it's not a type of guide where you will need to sit with the dictionary in the one hand and the book in the other. So if you haven't ordered it yet, please do so.
Well,
please read it.
we got copies just
Pass it
outside the
on.
door. Give me one second.
Yeah.
I'm going to go fetch a copy and put it up on screen. It's going to take me 2 seconds. Watch this. Hold on a second.
Okay, I'll carry on.
Just outside the door.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I knew there was a copy right outside the studio.
Well, there are a few
here
hundred
it is.
copies outside the
Permitted
studio.
plundering. Get
Lower
yourself
it a
a
bit,
copy.
Lower it a bit.
No, it's
Nick, Tom,
no, it's not. No, it's not
Tom.
yours. No, it's not your screen that's going out. It's my screen, so it's perfect
Well,
on
okay.
mine at the moment. No problem. All right.
I was also just going to say, all I can see is the bottom of the book.
No, otherwise I would submit to the director, but I'm watching the output, and you guys have got the Zoom
Okay,
screen.
good.
So,
Okay.
all right, go
Okay,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
the serious issues. There are so many issues affecting females in South Africa and all over the world. But today and yesterday, two things caught my eye. Women are bearing the brunt. Well, three things. Women are bearing the brunt when it comes to the lack of water in every tap, because it's usually the women and children in the rural areas that are left to go and fetch the water. And closer to home, everybody who pays tax, you might not have realized it, but the tax burden on single mothers are much higher than the tax burden on a couple or on a male. And also yesterday I read a report that says it's single women, and especially again single mothers, that are the deepest in debt in this country, because we still have glass ceilings, we still have a huge wage disparity in this country. Men are still earning more money for the same jobs that they're doing in many, many sectors, while women are often left to raise the children on a single salary.
Yeah.
GBV, we haven't even spoken about gender-based violence. So there are so many things that we need to address, but we're sitting with an inept government who wastes money, who takes away opportunities, further opportunities from women. And that's the thing we need to start talking about, is how corruption affects, for instance, reporting a crime like gender-based violence to a police station, where people are overstretched, overworked, underpaid, and just not interested in yet another woman coming there with a blue eye or a broken arm. People are dying, ladies are dying in childbirth because state hospitals are not prepared to help them, or not funded or outfitted to help them. So there are many, many issues in this country affecting women, and we need to start talking about them more often, even though it might irritate some people to hear it from a woman's perspective.
Well, let's ask Kerry. Listening to Ilse talking about the effort that's needed to change a lot of our problems we've got in South Africa, and she's focusing on gender-based violence and issues that women face on a daily basis. Let me ask you about the role of an HR executive when it comes to these issues and the issue of maladministration and corruption. How does that fit into the work you do and the role you play?
All right. Thank you for the question, Tom. Look, if you're asking me, and I must admit I might be slightly biased here, but
Sure.
in my opinion, HR is probably one of the easiest places to start when you want to tackle these things.
Okay.
If you think about it, HR tends to house the rules and expectations of any organization. And if those are principled and defined early enough, well defined early on enough, it can make all the difference. In fact, when business strategists and consultants are called in to turn a company around, one of the first places they start is to look at the culture and the people practices. And these are now considered to be determinant factors when it comes to sort of, corruption and maladministration, and what factors are prevalent when corruption and maladministration take place. So to me, I am very passionate about the role that human resources plays.
And how does that look in Outa? How does it play itself out in the organization?
Well, I think maybe you could ask that a different way. What do you mean? I mean, like, obviously, we tend to, as an organization that is trying to hold other people and other organizations to account, we are quite deliberate about holding ourselves to account as well.
That's what I mean, yes.
Yeah, we try to make sure that all of our policies, our practices, how we engage with our employees and our supporters is above reproach. We take input regularly. We amend things as, you know, as better best practice is determined.
And there goes the Zoom link. So while I try and get it up, let's keep the comments rolling this evening. I'm not sure whether we all got bumped off or whether I just got bumped off, but as we chat, I'm going to rejoin and see if we can get back to what Kerry was saying about how...
I think I lost you a bit there.
Okay, I lost you a bit, but...
we are still here. And
all right.
Just from a staff point of view,
Sure.
Kerry, you guys are really doing an amazing work for us as Outa staff. Kerry is absolutely up to speed on ethical stuff. We have an ethics magazine or newsletter coming out once a month. There's talks that's being arranged for us to address certain issues. I've been a worker of some sort now for 25 years, and it's the most up to date, up to speed place I've ever worked.
Because it's important. Quite frankly, we can't. I would like to think that everything that we do in Outa, and I know that sometimes we do, you know, we might over survey everybody and we might ask for a little bit too much feedback and input, but it's vital and it's crucial because everybody that works in Outa provides the information that we need to make it work better and provides that construct that says to us, okay, well, this is how it should be working. How can we make it work like that in other places?
Here's a question from...
happy.
Here's a question from Christo Fenter. A great question. Whoever wants to jump in, and perhaps you want to discuss it amongst yourselves, that we can get a bit of a discussion going around this. Christo Fenter wants to know, okay, how do we break the glass ceiling for women? I think Christo wants to hear practical examples or answers. How do you break that glass ceiling that was referred to a little earlier on? Who goes first?
Well,
Ilse.
I think it's very simple that those in power, those signing the checks, need to assess a job done and not look at who's doing the job. I did a lot of freelance work in my career, and at one place where I freelanced, the only division that didn't have a director in place was a division led by a woman, and she wasn't given the title or the pay or the perks of her equivalent in other divisions, although she was putting out a lot more work, working 18 hours a day, but she was deemed to be not worthy of the same salary because she was a single woman and not a mother or a father or a breadwinner. So in South Africa in particular, I can't speak for everybody in the corporate world, but I think there's still a bit of a sense in some institutions and private companies that a woman's income is there to supplement a male's income. While the reality of South Africa is that we have more single mothers than we are aware of. And we need to change the mindset that a woman works because she wants to play less Scrabble or watch less TV.
Yeah.
We don't work, we work because we want careers, we want to live our passion, we want to change the world, and we want to look after our families. I've been a single mother for 15 years, and it's much harder than anybody can imagine.
Anybody else want to jump in on that question? How do we break the glass ceiling?
Yeah, okay, go for it, Asavela.
Thank you, Kerry. So I agree with Ilse, Tom. I think women must be given opportunities, and we need to stop with asking women to explain their abilities to do the job. I mean, if you remember the classic Chief Justice interviews that happened earlier this year, the minute Justice Maya came into the room, the question suddenly became about her capability to do the job as a woman. They were centered around her gender. And yet her male counterparts, nobody asked them whether, because you're a man, are you going to be able to be the Chief Justice of the state? Or do you think the country is ready to have a male Chief Justice? So women must be afforded the same opportunities. And Tom, we're not saying that women must be given opportunities because they are women. No, we are saying women must not be denied or deprived of opportunities because they are. And we must stop women must stop being asked to explain their ability to do the job. I mean, if my CV shows that I qualify for that position, then I shouldn't be asked if I'm ready or I think I can do the job because I have boobs or I have a womb and all those things. So we need to shy away from those things and just start dealing with people based on their qualifications and treat them as equals, because at the end of the day, the Constitution does ask that everybody be treated equally.
Kerry, I could see you also wanted to add to that.
Look, I stand with my esteemed colleagues, and I mean, they're making very, very valid points, but I tend to take a slightly more simplistic view, because a lot of the times when an issue is so complex, it helps to take it a little bit, down to a simpler level. And I would, we have legislation in South Africa. We have great laws. In fact, a lot of countries in the world have regulations and legislation that dictates how these things should be done. So for me, it would become a case of be an effective leader.
Yeah.
If you are running a company, or if you're a leader in a company in South Africa, there are laws that dictate how this should be done, how it should be managed, and how it should be reported on. So I would ask that as effective leaders, whether you're in the public or the private sector in South Africa, if you're not sure, look it up, maybe get somebody to advise you, but follow the law. We are not allowed to unfairly discriminate. Yeah. So don't do that. And I would just like to say as well that it is Women's Month, and I love the woman that we have. I mean, just watching Asavela grow from when she came to us to this astounding young woman that she is at the moment, and Ilse's fortitude this entire time that I've known her as well is inspiring. But we are very fortunate, I think, in Outa that our male counterparts and our people that we have support us, and they understand and they back us, and it's very much a collaboration between everybody who works there. I'm very grateful.
I'm looking at a comment that Claire Feldman put up in the comment section. Unfortunately, patriarchy is so instilled in the male citizenry, it will take years to undo. And I want to focus on that as we get to the end of the show, and perhaps ask you for a message to men, to us males who are participating and watching this program tonight. And as we're chatting, I can't help but think of my late mom. I was brought up by a woman who was very forceful. She stood her ground, and she knew what her rights were, and she never dropped her guard. And I remember when she opened a business at the age of 50, she opened a tire shop in Brakpan. Men would walk in and they'd say, "I'd like to speak to the boss, please," or "I'd like to speak to the manager, please." And she would face fire with fire. She would say, who the bloody hell do you think you are? I'm the owner of this business. You speak to me if you want a 1856515. You know less about tires than I. She'd give it to them, and they'd fall in love with her after she'd given them a smack. And she'd get the respect that she wanted. But I used to watch this happen and think she shouldn't have to. And that was 20 odd years ago. And and even today, my best friend, my sister, my housemate, my business partner, there are instances where she says, Tom, rather you go and ask that person that, or rather you go deal with that issue because I'm a man. My girlfriend, for example, when it comes to car issues and dealing with workshops and vehicle dealerships, it's easier for me to go along and have that conversation because the guys in the workshops are just going to take advantage of this dynamic that's at play. So for years, I never quite understood what misogyny and patriarchy actually meant, but the practical examples are out there for us to see every single day. What would your message be to men? Because I think, and I don't want to sound as if I'm not an expert on this, but I'm the other part of the equation, aren't I? We've got men and women in this world, and so we're going to have to somehow get this right together. And if us men have been sticking our heads in the sand for too long and not dealing with these issues seriously, what do we need to do? Let's start with you, Kerry.
You know what, Tom, I feel like there has been a lot of conversation around what men could be doing differently, what women could be doing differently, what we all could be doing differently. And I thank you for that question. And I would like to perhaps not speak to the misogynists or the members of the patriarchy. I would like to speak to the genuine, good, decent men who are out there, the good fathers, the good husbands, the decent people, and I would like to say, please carry on. Your contribution is invaluable to what we have been trying to do. It is appreciated. We value the support because I don't, again, there is a lot of negativity in the world, but there is also positive change that is happening. And when it comes to women's issues, women's rights, equality issues, I feel like sometimes, I wouldn't like us to focus on trying to address men that need to change. I would like us to perhaps say thank you to those that have, and to say, please continue, please spread the word. Please keep doing this for your mothers, your daughters, your wives, your sisters.
We're all,
because it's valuable, and it's we can't. There is no replacement for it. Thank you.
We're all works in progress. Ilse, would you like to add to that? Do you agree with that?
I would like to unmute myself, and then I would like to say to all the men who actually sometimes keep quiet and listen. Thank you very much. To all my male colleagues, Wayne as a leader, thank you for affording us equal platforms to speak on and for listening to our sometimes uncalled for advice and input, because we are a vocal bunch. And like Kerry said, it doesn't help to talk to the guys sitting here, being tuned in, listening to the conversation. But we need to go and spread the message. And as mothers and aunts and teachers, or whatever your role is in the life of a young man, also teach them that there is a place for both genders in this world, and that you can listen when a woman talks, because she doesn't only gossip. Most of us actually have things keeping our ears apart, and it's called brains. And informed opinions, and we would love to be heard if people would stop and sometimes listen to us. And again, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart to all our male colleagues at Outa. Thank you for being who you are.
Asabella Kakaza, your message.
Well, I can't say any better than Ilse has just said it, Tom. We are very thankful for the men in our lives, particularly at the organization that we work for. Just everybody must be ready to learn and unlearn, Tom. I mean, the information is there. The knowledge, you can really just get the knowledge for yourself. So if people don't want to educate themselves, then it's on them. And also, we must stop asking women what men should do. The question should be posed to men. What should they do? So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for participating in this conversation tonight. On screen now, Kerry Dionga up on your top right. Kerry is the HR Executive Manager and Ethics Officer at Outa. Thank you, Kerry, for joining us and for making the time and putting in the effort this evening. Good to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Tom. Super appreciate it, and super appreciate all our listeners tonight. And thank you very much as well for all of your concerted efforts to promote Outa and to help us in our fight against corruption and maladministration. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's an honor. Asavela Kakaza, thank you for joining us this evening and for becoming a TV star. I said it a little earlier on. I mean, Kerry said it's been lovely to watch you grow and develop. I know you came in here with some serious skills, but it has been fantastic to watch someone join this organization and then just go from strength to strength. And I was very proud, just as a human being, to see a colleague and compatriot on screen speaking so well yesterday. So well done, and thank you for joining us tonight. Always a delight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've been afforded that have allowed me to grow. So thank you to Outa, thanks to you, and thanks to my manager, Stefani. Thanks.
And last but not least, Ilse Salzwedel, who when I first met her, I thought, don't mess with this person. And she's got it.
Has your views changed?
No, my views haven't changed. And you know what? I've always admired strong people. And I'm resisting the temptation to say strong women, because I think when I look at the four people and the three people on screen tonight, I see people. And so I admire strong people, and I admire people who stand their ground. And I've always thought of you as that kind of person. And hopefully I get along with other like-minded, strong people. So no, I haven't changed my mind, but I've fallen more in love with you as time has gone along.
Thank you, Tom. And to our listeners as well, our viewers, thank you for supporting Outa. For those donating to us, thank you for donating to us. And please spread the word. We are crowdfunded. Without you, Outa cannot exist, and none of us would have a job. And happy Women's Month to my colleagues and all the female viewers.
Well, thank you, Kerry. Thank you,
Elsa.
Asavela. Thank you, Ilse Salzwedel. And Nangano Mashashane, I think, just didn't manage to stay on the line due to connectivity problems tonight. We're going to miss her contribution, but we'll have her on another show. A big thank you to you. You know, when we get to the end of the show, I've always got a whole lot of thoughts rolling around in my mind, and it's normally in the Uber back home that they all start to crystallize. But there's been one that has been floating around in my mind tonight, and that is I have a girlfriend. Well, I think she's my girlfriend. She says she is sometimes, and sometimes she says she isn't. But she's an incredible, apart from her beauty, which I'm in awe of, she's an incredible human being. She's a medical doctor. She's a specialist. She knows more about, she knows more about most things than I do. And if I had a message for other men and a reminder to myself, because I'd like to include myself in this problem we've got, even if I don't think I'm a problem child, we can all do better. But it's easy to be in awe of the opposite sex's beauty, assuming you're into the opposite sex. It's easy as a man to fall in love with a woman. It's easy to admire a woman's beauty. And we use words like that. I'm in awe of your beauty. I'm blown away by your looks. But having experienced women in my life with such incredible minds and such, and I'm searching for the right word, and it's probably strength, that I've been exposed to in my life, and my significant other that I've got in my life, that I think what we need to do as men is not only be in awe of beauty, but be in awe of capability and capacity and intelligence and smarts. And when we say I'm in awe of you, start including all of it when we look at each other as human beings. Let's get past the surface and the gender stereotypes and the past, and let's look at the complete picture. and the complete human being. We as men get that naturally. We get validated all the time. And perhaps what we're not doing as men is we're not in awe of the intelligence and the capability and the capacity that women have, but we all have as much as we should. So if I have a message for you from one man to another tonight, if you're lucky enough to share your space or your life with a woman that you love, perhaps go up to her and tell her, remind her that you are in awe of way more than just the stereotypes and the stuff that is easy to say. And so that's my final contribution tonight. For what it's worth, I hope it makes sense. Sometimes what I say doesn't. But as I say goodnight to you this evening, whether you're near or far, I hope that you have a wonderful week. We will be back on air next week at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and you know that the issues won't stop coming when it comes to South Africa. You know that the fight won't stop when it comes to Outa, and we'll be highlighting more and more as we go through the year on the show. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for pressing the play button. Thanks for those comments and your engagement on the show. Always appreciated. And hope that the next 7 days are filled with love. And I'm going to include an extra one tonight, filled with respect. And I hope that you got a bit of money in your pocket by the time we see you next week. It's still there. And I hope that you stay warm and that you give love and you receive love. And if you can get all of that right, well done. And we'll catch you again for another date next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Don't be late. I really do. It's a 7-day wait. And until then, I miss you all.
Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The Outa Hour, where your voice matters.